"This old mansion has a curse. Whoever goes in there can never get out again." However, this man did not believe it, so he insisted on going inside to see what was going on. He pretended to take some pictures inside the house. Then he received a large sum of money from the homeowner. Finally, he told Gabby that their house was not haunted. It was just a mother and daughter scaring themselves. Ben started to get in the car to go home without realizing that he was carrying a ghost sitting in the back. Ben returned to his apartment and began to notice strange things happening, such as wet footprints on the floor and the remote control suddenly being pulled out of his hand. Ben was a little scared. Ben took out his camera to take a picture. The flash went off and pushed him backwards. Ben looked at the real photo and saw a strange face inside. Ben thought he was seeing things, so he went to bed. But he discovered that there was thunder in the bathroom. Ben went to open the door and was shocked to see a whole ocean of waves. It even threw him onto the bed. Then a spear was thrown towards him. Luckily, he dodged it. Ben was scared, so he went to a coffee shop. Ben thought he was paranoid and wanted to relieve himself. The coffee cup suddenly fell to the ground. He saw a ghost on the glass door, but the ghost didn't want to care about him. But things didn't stop there. When Ben returned home, he was shocked to see water everywhere. He opened the door and saw only water. A huge wave came and left only 2 words, "Come back." The huge wave threw him out onto the street. He was almost hit by a car. Ben couldn't take it anymore. He knew he was under a curse. Ben drove back to the mansion. As expected, Travis and his mother were waiting for Ben at the door. Ben said something followed him home. Travis prepared a folding bed for Ben. There was a priest here besides Ben. They were all haunted by ghosts after accidentally coming to this cursed mansion. At this time, it was exactly 12 o'clock at night. Every time this time comes, ghosts appear and disappear. Therefore, they could only hide in this room to avoid being disturbed. However, Ben did not think so. He wanted to take this opportunity to find a way to break curse. As soon as he stepped out of the door, he saw a candle hanging in front of him. He could only turn around and go in the other direction. Ben had just stepped over a photo when the person in it moved by himself. Immediately after that, Ben heard the sound of scratching each other behind him. Ben was scared and quickly took out his homemade camera and saw the ghost behind him chasing him. The ghost also said that "I would be very happy when you come." Ben was scared and ran while taking pictures. In the end, Ben didn't pay attention, so he had to use a mirror. Luckily, a group of 3 people came and scared the ghost away. Finally, Ben realized how powerful the ghosts in the mansion were. Relying on just a few people to break curse was probably just an illusion. The next day, Ben and Ken went to find a professor named Davis, an expert on paranormal phenomena, who wrote a book about the ghosts in that mansion. They learned that the owner of the mansion was named William Gracie, who bought the mansion from an unknown person. Davis revealed that things started to get strange after his wife died of yellow fever. Davis really wanted to go to the mansion, but Ben refused. That's why Davis refused to give them the documents. However, Ben and Ken quickly snatched them from Davis's hands and caused part of the document to burn. Next, they needed to find someone who could talk to ghosts, so they invited the psychic Harriet, a famous fortune teller who was highly regarded by experts. Returning, Ben installed cameras all over the house to monitor the activities of the ghosts. Indeed, after midnight, the spirits would stir up trouble in the mansion. But when Ben zoomed in, he saw the frightened expressions of those ghosts. It seemed like they were hiding from something. That night, Harriet visited the mansion. After observing the surroundings, she guessed that people had eaten here before. Harriet told them the price they had to pay for her to help them, and then she quickly left. If nothing unexpected happened, she would return in 2 hours. Obviously, Harriet was also cursed, so she scolded Kent. She blamed him for not telling her in advance that entering this mansion would be haunted by ghosts. Since she had already come, she had to stay. It was already midnight. They looked through the documents and learned that since William Gracie died, about 66 people had moved into the house, and each of them had died in strange ways. Perhaps that was why so many resentful ghosts were born. They discovered that Gracie had once sent a letter to the psychic Leota. In the letter, he invited her to the ghost summoning room. Then they found a map of the ghost summoning room in the documents. Sure enough, they found the location of the room. The large painting in front of them was the door to the ghost summoning room. They opened the door and went in. Inside there was only dust and cobwebs. They sat around the table. Harriet began to chant to summon Gracie's spirit. Very quickly, a ghost came to the table through Kameza. Harriet also left the paper and pen on the table. Gracie wrote on a piece of paper, "Talk to Leota." Then he disappeared. When Harriet tried to summon Leota's spirit, another spirit appeared. It broke Ben's camera. Then it pushed Harriet out of the villa, causing her to fall into a pile of mud. Everyone rushed to help her. At this time, Davis also chased to the villa. However, as soon as he entered, he was picked up on a chair and thrown out onto the street. He was almost hit by a truck. Luckily, he only suffered minor injuries, but the ghost still didn't seem to let him go. It kept harassing him. It even teased other patients. So Ben and Gabby took him out of the hospital. That night, the ghost in the Hat tried to lure Ben out by creating an illusion of his wife. He went to the cemetery behind the house and saw many other ghosts. There was also a dog. One ghost told him to go back because ahead was the door to hell. But because of his love for his wife, he ignored the advice. He just chased after his wife. Suddenly, Ben was awakened by Travis. It turned out to be just a dream. Travis said that Davis was missing, so they immediately split up to search everywhere. Finally, they found him sitting on the second floor. Suddenly, Davis said that Leota might be in the attic. Ben found a ladder, so he climbed up, but it suddenly closed, so he continued upstairs and found an old chest. Before he could take a closer look, the ghost bride chased after him with a cane. Ben quickly ran away, but he did not forget to take the chest with him. The ghost bride was behind the mortal under Ben. Ben jumped down from the attic many times. When they opened it, they found a crystal ball containing Leota's soul and an ancient book. Here the secret gradually revealed. Several hundred years ago, she was still a normal person. A rich merchant named Gracie, because he missed his dead wife so much, sought out Leota to summon her soul. But Leota summoned her again and again, without success. During the year, they continuously opened the gates of hell, leading to many souls being summoned to the human world. Until one day, a soul suddenly said that she was Gracie's wife. He believed it was true, but that night he was killed. It turned out that she was not Gracie's wife, but a demon summoned from the demon world. The demon was so powerful that Leota had not yet seen its form. Leota was then locked in a crystal ball. Several hundred years had passed, and the demon wanted to see his soul. Now there were 999 souls in this house. Now, there was only one missing to complete the ritual, to free the demon from the shackles of this mansion and go out to harm more people. When Ben's group heard this, they immediately felt a great responsibility. They had to think of a way to stop the demon. With only a few pieces of information like this, it was impossible. At that time, Harriet suggested that they should perform an exorcism, but they needed the object that the demon once possessed. So they held a soul astral projection ritual that caused the souls of those present to leave their bodies to find Gracie to ask for clarification. In the end, only Ben succeeded. At this time, Ben met Gracie's soul going in to find his wife Eleanor. Hundreds of years had passed, but he still did not give up looking for his wife. When Gracie discovered that person in front of him was not Eleanor, he immediately turned around and ran away. Ben immediately chased Gracie and searched for him for a long time in this house. Ben also saw other ghosts trapped in here. Ben finally found Gracie in front of a painting. Gracie blamed himself for what happened and begged Ben not to let the ghost in the hat take the last soul. Although he didn't know who he was, the devil was very powerful. All the souls had to bow before him. If he succeeded in his purpose, they would be locked here as slaves forever. At this moment, the clock struck 12 o'clock at night. Immediately, the souls in the painting were all immersed in panic. They ran everywhere to find a place to hide. Only Ben remained standing alone, wanting to see the devil's appearance. Ben was taken into a room by a mysterious force. The guard in the room told Ben to hide under the table. After the devil entered the room, Ben took advantage of the moment when he wasn't paying attention and escaped. But Ben was discovered by the devil's head on the table. At the same time, Ben's body was taken over by another soul. The devil, chasing after Ben, wanted him to be the last soul to complete it, as it should be. At this moment, Harriet discovered that Ben was possessed by another soul, so she immediately rang the bell. The function of this bell was to lead Ben's soul back to the body. The devil was in a hurry now. It chased after him, wanting to capture this last soul. But at the most crucial moment, Ben successfully entered the body and avoided the devil's pursuit. Although they didn't find any clues this time, Ben saw the devil's face, so they went to the sketch artist at the police station. After a while of connecting the strange descriptions, the artist finally sketched the devil's appearance. But it looked like a skull, so Ben told the artist to draw more details based on this line. Very quickly, they got such a picture. They easily recognized that this was Alistair, the son of a real estate tycoon who lived a long time ago. Alistair cried a lot at his mother's funeral. His filial act made his father think that he had no manly temperament, so his father kicked him out of the house. After his father died, he inherited all the property and held many lavish parties. He invited people from the upper class who had turned their backs on him, but at the party, there would always be people who disappeared without a trace. So everyone guessed that Alistair used dark magic to sacrifice to maintain his wealth and social status. Later, his workers could no longer stand his evil, so they started to revolt and behead him. Even so, he continued to be a terrifying figure in the spirit world. Before he died, he loudly said that even if he turned into a demon, he would return to take revenge. The psychic said that if they wanted to drive away the demon, they needed something from the demon. Now they knew that the demon was Alistair. Moreover, his house was not far away. They went there to see if they could find some of his things. But while they were discussing the plan, Alistair heard them. To prevent them from going to his house, he locked the villa, raised the water level, and released crocodiles with barrels of explosives. Ben and Travis quickly climbed the statue on the wall to escape them. them. But these crocodiles also had the skill to climb walls like lizards. Luckily, they both got to the outside terrace. Seeing Kent waiting outside, they tried to drive away. But the trees in the forest suddenly came to life and tried to attack them. Luckily, Kent's driving was steady. Kent finally brought the three of them to Alistair's house. But now it has become a museum. Ben followed the tour guide around, but he couldn't find any items that belonged to Alistair. However, not only the three of them came here but also a dead captain. Ben tried to go talk to him. Maybe he knew where Alistair's things were. The captain talked to them through the steam on the mirror. He made a condition that after they drove away the demon, Ben would release him into the ocean. Then he took them to a cupboard in the living room. It turned out that there was a cellar below. The two adults said that their bodies were too big to go down, so they coaxed Travis to go down to find things. After going down, Travis found out that this place was a cemetery. All the people Alistair harmed were buried here. Finally, Travis found Alistair's hat here. After getting the hat, the three people hurriedly returned to the haunted mansion. When he was alive, Alistair's cruelty had become his nature, so he was beheaded by the workers. But after death, he still wanted to harm the world, so he immediately prepared a ritual to free himself from the constraints of this mansion. He needed a soul, and now he was missing only one soul. But this last soul was the most important. Only someone who actively sacrificed themselves could Alistair complete the ritual. So Alistair placed all his hopes on young Travis. A year ago, Travis's father had just passed away. Alistair immediately pretended to be Travis's father. Then Alistair wrote on a piece of paper, "I am your father. I want to see you." Then Alistair guided Travis to the basement room, just like how he had manipulated Gracie. At the same time, Travis's mother, Gabby, learned of Alistair's plot, so she and Ben went to save Travis. In order not to let them stop his plan, Alistair released the spirits he controlled, so they asked Kent to act as bait to lure the spirits away. This gave Ben and Gracie a chance to save Travis, but they underestimated Alistair's strength. As they walked into the hallway, the door became further and further away from them. The structure of the house could change instantly. In the blink of an eye, the two were separated. At this time, Ben remembered that the homeowner Gracie was tricked by a demon and killed. Gracie said that at the intersection of the worlds of yin and yang, a shortcut could be found. With Gracie's help, Ben entered the three-dimensional space. At this time, Ben successfully found Travis. Ben kept advising Travis to stay away from that fire. But at this time, Travis was immersed in missing his father. Ben emphasized that his father would not ask him to die with his father. Only then did Ben pull Travis back. In order to save time for everyone, Kent kept sending ghosts everywhere. In the end, he was still surrounded by them alone. Seeing that there was no way out, Kent immediately brainwashed them and made them sober up. They had been sealed and brainwashed by Alistair all this time. The reason they had been locked up here was all Alistair's doing. Once his ritual was completed, these souls would be locked up here forever. Kent's words immediately made the souls wake up. They decided to stand on the side of justice, but they couldn't deal with Alistair by relying on them alone. So Harriet went to Leota, who had been locked up in the water sphere for hundreds of years. Lepta told Harriet that if she released me, I would help her drive the demons back to hell. After that, all the souls went to the grave outside the haunted mansion. Everywhere here were controlled souls. Everything was ready, except for the item that Alistair had brought with him when he was alive. Only then could they exorcise the demon. At this moment, the professor brought a corner of Alistair's hat to the place. On the way, he was disturbed by the spirits and fell into the grave. Fortunately, Travis had a nimble body to catch it. Then, Travis successfully brought it to Leota. At this time, the demon controlled countless vengeful spirits to attack them. Thanks to the awakened spirits, they easily resisted this army. At this time, Alistair was constantly brainwashing Ben. Ben once had a wife that he loved deeply, but an incident caused the two of them to be separated from the living world. Alistair said that as long as Ben sacrificed himself, he would meet his wife again in the underworld. When Ben turned around, he saw people trying to seal the demon, so Ben hesitated. If he voluntarily sacrificed himself to cause chaos in the human world, he would not be happy. Harriet chanted a spell to drive away the demon. The demon was dragged back to the underworld little by little. Seeing that the defense was not working, the demon began to threaten Ben, saying that if I return to the underworld, I will torment your lost friends. I will torment your friends forever. However, Ben was still unmoved. The demon still tempted Ben and said, "Come with me to see your wife. This is your last chance to say I love you to your wife." Ben recalled the happiest moments of his life. Then he woke up in his memories. Then Ben kicked the demon. Finally, they successfully drove the demon away. Alistair was dragged down to hell. The souls that had been controlled by him were now free. But most of the ghosts refused to leave and agreed to stay in this mansion with Gabby and Travis. Finally, Ben and Travis sent Captain's ghost into the sea as he requested. After Ben returned home, he saw a cat in front of his house. It had been wandering in front of his house for a long time. Its name was Potato Ball. Potato Ball was Ben's wife's favorite food, so he immediately felt felt that she was somewhere watching him from afar. Maybe she was proud of him and she wanted to express her love to him. Then the group reunited on Halloween. At the party at Gracie's mansion, they celebrated with the ghosts there. The movie ended here. Thank you for watching, goodbye, and see you again.